Hello, people of the internet. Welcome to TK is Outlandish. I am Teresa. I am the TK of TK is Outlandish, and that is my husband Ryan on the other side of the screen.
Hi, everyone.
If you are coming back to see us, thanks for coming back. If you're new here, basically what we do here is we review Outlander through the eyes of someone who has read the books, which is me, and through the eyes of someone who is just watching the series, who is Ryan. Because I've always been interested in how books go to a movie or a series. That's basically it.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, and then we're going to be going over episode 704, A Most Uncomfortable Woman. Is that what it's called? I didn't have it written down.
Yeah, the most uncomfortable woman.
Okay. What happened was, we watched the episode together, then I rewatch it and take notes. And I wrote down the title and the director and the writer. And I had so many notes because the episode jumped around so much. I rewrote everything because I decided to go by character storyline instead of chronologically through the episodes. I had to rewrite everything. But yes, this episode is A Most Uncomfortable Woman. And the writer is, I don't know if it's pronounced, it's Marque. So I don't know if it's just Mark Fancy or Marquis or Marky, but that's the name. Franklin Williams.
I'm of no help there. I'm sorry.
And the director is Jackie Gold, who has, I remember her name from previous episodes. And just a quick recap of the episode in case you're not like me and you don't watch it 2 or 3 times. Roger. Claire and Jamie are making their way to Wilmington to get a boat back to Scotland. Bree and Roger are redoing Lollybrock to live in it. And Bree gets a job. And, we're introduced to William, who has an episode in Wilmington and then gets lost in a dismal swamp, almost dies, and then we meet the hunters. I think that's it. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds right. You know, when you first told me that we were going to be introduced to the hunters, I pictured something much more dramatic. Like I pictured like the adjective hunters rather than the last name hunter.
I forgot to mention before we started, we have 104 subscribers now. So yay! Thanks for that dopamine hit. And I have my Sassenach whiskey and my Fraser's. I don't know if you can read it, but it says Fraser's whiskey and spirits glass that I think your coworker got me, didn't she?
Yeah. And she got me another glass as well, but not a Sassenach or not a Outlander related.
I keep saying we need to invite her and her husband over for a viewing.
Yeah.
I think it would be fun. We need more friends that watch Outlander. I keep trying to say to people, like, do you watch Outlander? Have you read the books? And a couple of friends I found out after the fact had read the books or something. And I'm like, do you watch the show? Have you watched the show? What episode? What season are you on? But anyway.
That's not conversations I tend to have.
Amazing. I'm shocked by that. So anyway, I feel like this episode didn't have a lot of action in it. I feel like sometimes you have episodes which is kind of like a foundational episode. I think I would describe it where you get more of a character background of new characters are coming in, and it's building up to the next episode or maybe the episode after that where it's going to be really dramatic. Maybe the next episode will end with a cliffhanger. But I feel like this episode was getting to know William, getting to know the hunters, seeing what Bree and Roger's life is like now in I think it's like the 1980s. So would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely a step down as far as action goes, but that's only comparatively. It was still a very good episode. We just had the first 3 episodes were just action packed.
Mm-hmm.
Where else can you go? They have to slow it down eventually. You got to slow the burn a little bit.
Yeah, we only have 4 episodes left, people. This is
That's
mid-season already.
ridiculous. I don't even know what they're going to do with that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that compared to the other 3 episodes that we've had so far, it was slower, but that doesn't mean it was bad. I mean, it set the stage for a lot of new stuff coming up. In the last couple of videos, I've mentioned that felt like we were wrapping up a bunch of storylines, and that felt great because there was a lot of stuff just kind of hanging out there. And it was great that they wrapped that stuff up. But now, of course, they need to start new ones. And this episode really kind of started putting roots down for those.
I, I, I feel like I need to get a more comfortable chair if we're gonna keep doing these. I'm just saying.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Anyway, so there was something else I was gonna say while you're talking. I didn't want to interrupt you, and now I forget what it is. These are the conversations we have all the time, by the way, people.
That's what
I
you get for not interrupting me.
I constantly I'm like, this is what happens after you have kids. You just constantly forget what you're about to say.
It didn't have anything to do with the Sassenach with Scotch, right? Just
It does not, because I'm like this all the time. And I'm not drinking whiskey all the time. Um Oh, I know what I was going to say. So last episode, I said that I thought that the season was going to be like the TV series went this way and the book went this way. And last episode, it seemed like, oh, there was a lot from the book. Well, this episode was like, again, like, it's not that it was separating from the series. Oh, there we go. I was a little off center. It's not that we were separating from the book. We're just going through so much in book 7, and we skipped so much, which I expected they were going to do, because book 7 for me was a hard read, and that's what I had read from other people online, because there's just like a lot of military talk, stuff that I really don't care about. I'm just like, the whole time I'm like, can we just get to Scotland? Can we just get to
all of
Scotland?
a sudden you think you were reading a Tom Clancy.
A little bit. I wanted to ask you, what was your impression of William?
Hmm. Um, he seemed like like an upright guy. He has a moral center, but he's obviously very much part of that upper echelon of um, of society that he was raised to be. So he's kind of what I expected of him so far.
Mm-hmm. So I did not like William in book 7 or 8. I didn't like him until book 9, but I like him now because I like the way the actor portrays him. I also think it might have helped that they had changed some of the actions in the series from the book, and I think it, not that he was a bad guy in the book, but I think it made him look more what do you say, like upstanding.
Yeah,
Because
moral,
hmm?
moral.
Yeah,
You shows his
not
willingness to stand up against the crowd whenever the uh, the lady I don't know where,
the hewer, the
yes,
hewer.
the Euler. Uh,
Actually, can you bring up his picture?
yeah, let's do that. Let's start actually getting pictures in here.
Yeah. So so that incident happened in the book, happened on Long Island. um William had gone to Long Island with the army, and he actually, so I don't even know, did they say in the TV show what he said? He called him cousin, but I don't think he said his name. The second time I watched it, I didn't hear his name either, but that's his cousin Henry, who I want to say, I can't remember if he's his Uncle Hal's middle son or youngest son, but in the book he meets up with his cousin Adam. And the incident with the hewer is William does try, the guy actually like breaks a lantern over her, and she burns to death. Like, he doesn't put the fire out. He tries to stop him, but he can't get to him before he throws a lantern on her, and she literally like is a human torch, and she gets burned to death. And the guys, actually, the reaction is, it was kind of like they were all like, um they were drunk, they were like, burner or whatever, but then when it actually happens, they're all kind of in shock, even the guy that did it.
Yeah,
And
I mean
William,
that's kind of what happened in the.
Yeah, some of them were still like, but in the book they were all like shocked. And William and his cousin Adam tell them to leave, and and like seriously, when I saw William like put her out, and she was like at the doorsteps of like I guess the whorehouse, and I and like I think it's like the madam that comes out was like, what's going on? I half expected Claire to come out and like try to like doctor this whore, this prostitute or something. Like maybe they're already there, and like Claire does do stuff like that, and I almost like I half expected her to show up, but she didn't.
I expected her to show up in about 3 different places with William, and she never did, which is good. It wouldn't have made sense, but like I just kind of expected her to just like pop out of nowhere and be like, "I'm the doctor. I'm gonna fix it."
So but the thing that I'm kind of glad that they missed, that they skipped over, like William went to like Long Island, and then like he gets lost in a fog, and there's like this whole thing, and like I said, it's like very about the military, and I just don't care. The one thing that we do, I think we miss, and they might bring it up, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, so I always try to say potential spoiler, a little bit of a spoiler, book spoiler. I always try to give that disclaimer before I say something.
If you're watching this video, if you've been watching our channel,
Yeah.
we spoil stuff. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's part of the deal. When you
And Ryan doesn't care if I spoil stuff,
I
so
not at all.
the other people might. So some of the incidents, I think it's these things that trigger William remembering Mac the groom. And I know that in the show he realizes Jamie was Mac, and he doesn't really ask why he was known as Mac, but in the book he doesn't really remember the Mac's face, so I don't think he doesn't like connect him to Willie, but he remembers like this incident when he was about 4. I think he got lost in the fog, and Mac is the one that rescued him. So he has like these memories, and they kind of like are skipping over them when they're going to these incidents. Anyway, so I had to draw a couple arrows to make sure. Okay, so go to the. Hold on one second. Okay, go to the next picture. So this is Captain Richardson. I don't know if they said his first name in the show, but his first name.
I don't think they did.
Okay, his first name is, or should be, Ezekiel Richardson. Keep that name in the back of your head, because this guy shows up. This is another character that showed up all through like book 7. And I'm like, why are we focusing on him? And I didn't realize, book readers, you'll know, like all the way like in book 9. You go back, oh, and then that's when I reread book 7 and I paid more attention. But
Would you say he's more or less prominent character than Major McDonald?
Oh, way more, way more.
Oh,
I think McDonald's coming back, but the McDonald character in the book is helps Claire more. He's not like such a jerk. So is Scotchy, the guy that got drunk in the village, in the Indian village, and
yeah.
like started the fight. He like doesn't do that in the book. He's like around, and he like helps Jamie out a couple times. So anyway, so to keep him in mind, he's described in the book as you wouldn't be able to remember his face in a crowd 5 seconds later. And he actually talks to William and Sir John about this mission, I guess, to Dismal Town in the Dismal Swamp at a party in Wilmington. And then while William's in New York, he gets a letter. He gets 3 letters. I'm not even going to talk about the 2 other ones yet, because unless that storyline comes up. But he gets a letter from Hale that says he knows that your father told me Richardson, gave you a proposition. I know him. I wouldn't do it. So William's kind of like, I wonder why my uncle would say that. He wouldn't just say that if there wasn't something about it. So and I think we get a hint of that when Richardson says the last thing he says to him is, "See you don't die." Like, who says that? What kind of goodbye is that? Arrivederci. See you don't die. It, it reminds me of the Princess Bride, where he says Dread Pirate Roberts always says, "Hope I don't kill you in the morning." Like, good night, sleep, a good day. Hopefully, I won't kill you in the morning or something. That's what it reminded me of. Um, and then just to go back, that's all the pictures we have for the William section of this conversation. But when William goes to the swamp, can I just say that's like the worst CGI alligator I've ever seen in my life.
It wasn't great, but it wasn't the worst. I don't think.
I don't know. It was for me. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, I wonder where they got." Obviously, they would have to use stock footage of an alligator. There's not alligators in Scotland. And then, like, the second time I watched it on my phone, and I'm like, "Oh, that's terrible." It reminded me of the basket going over the waterfall. It
That
was
was
insane.
bad. That was bad.
When I didn't, that was the first time I saw it. I didn't realize how bad it was, and then like the second time, I was like, "That's terrible."
Oh no! For
But
the first time I saw that, I was like, "Ooh, that." Mm.
which it was the alligator was worse than the fireflies. I will say that. I will take the fireflies over the alligator, man.
Really?
But I think so. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that one caught me off guard.
Yeah.
I didn't think you'd say that because those
um.
fireflies were rough.
Yeah. Well, because I could kind of see where it was trying to make it look magical, which is what they said in the
I know.
podcast.
I know. I get what they were going for.
That the alligator was trying not looking magical, and it was not. It was not. Um. So, but the one thing, and the other thing that they skipped over was when Ian um met William, and he says, and he does his like with the death song, he says, you know, "I'm William James." He thinks that all in his head in the book. He doesn't say it out loud because he's very feverish. He's kind of delirious. Um, and again, some people I've read online think that William looks like Jamie. I don't think he does, and I think that the show knows this, and this is why they say things like, he introduces himself because in the book, Ian instantly knows who he is because he looks just like Jamie. He like doesn't even have to tell him his name. Um,
I don't know.
but
I don't see it either. I don't. Um,
yeah,
it would be nice to get like kind of like a side by side comparison, but
I had a side by side comparison at some point last season, or no, not last season, in Outlander because they published or they posted his picture, and like I had the actor in costume. I can't remember if it was costume or not, but I had him next to Jamie and I had him next to Geneva, the character, and her character picture, and I think he looks a lot like Geneva. Like I think that he could look like their son because he looks like the mother too. But the whole thing is supposed to be. I'm sorry, my TV screen just went, or the computer screen just went gray, and now it's like, um, um, I just think, but that's not like Geneva's dead. Like the whole point is he's supposed to look like Jimmy. Anyway, I'll get over it because they are focusing more on like, I think, Ryan, do you think that they're more focusing on William having the same um characteristics as like or personality as Jamie more?
yeah, they're definitely focusing on that, especially like with his morality and him jumping into the fray and him willing to do kind of crazy things. That's ordered for him to do. Yeah, they're definitely trying to draw those parallels.
Him jumping in with the incident in Wilmington reminded me of Jamie jumping in with the incident when the printer where all the people were like trying to tar and feather him. So I think that was they were trying to like do that, and I think that was another reason why maybe they had it happen in Wilmington because it was the same town too. Um, but in the book, um, Ian says, just says, did a fash to him one time. It reminds William of Mac. So that was something that maybe it'll come in later. I don't know. Okay, so I'm gonna go into, if you want to take that picture off or not, that's fine.
We'll just jump to
Nope.
the
But that wasn't what I was gonna go
Cool,
to.
cool, great.
We are high class production here, friends. I could go back to it, but that's all right.
Where would you like to go to?
I'll just come back to this, and we'll just go on to Jamie and Claire. So I like that while they were in the woods, they go back to Ian. Like they keep Ian has Archbug at the back of his mind, and I feel really bad for Ian. He's just like so paranoid. So and I love that little scene with and them in the woods. I just thought it was like a really cute little moment between the two of them. Like they're supposed to be like in their mid-50s by now, and they're still like, they're still cute together. But what I found funny was, so when Jamie goes to Wilmington and the guy, I can't think of his name, but the guy that was like, oh, you help me as a Sons of Liberty, we can conscript you. I'm surprised Jamie was like, you're gonna conscript me? That's like what the English did. Why are you fighting a war if you're forcing people to fight like England did? Because it reminded me of when they said that one in season 3 when the English naval ship came up and they're like, we'll press you into service. I'm like, I would have been like, what? So you're forcing me to fight? Like, how's that any different than what England would have done? But anyway, I knew they had to get them to Ticonderoga. Like I said, so at this point of the book, we're like 600 pages in. So as I said, they condensed a lot. They skipped a lot. So I was trying to flip around the book, remembering exactly how they got to Ticonderoga, and I feel like they took a boat, and I can't remember if they took a boat from Wilmington to New Haven, and then they were going to try to take like a connecting boat to Scotland, because finding boats, especially, it's not like an airplane. You got to find a port, find a boat that's going to Scotland, which they might not have to, and you might have to go take like a boat to France and then get a boat from France to Scotland, or whatever.
For anyone who doesn't know, you can actually only go certain directions at certain spots on the ocean. Like that's how the sailboats work. Like certain paths, because like the trade winds and the easterlies and all kind of different winds like that. You could only go east, to Europe at certain spots in the United States, and you could only come west from Europe and land in certain spots in the United States because of the winds over the ocean.
Now, does that depend on the time of the year too, or is that more for storms and hurricanes and
No,
such?
that's all for storms and hurricanes and
Okay.
stuff. Generally, the strength of those winds that varies over the course of the year, but um, they're generally remain the same year round.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense because um then on their boat, I think they get attacked by pirates. Like, I'm sorry, I really should probably read more doing this, since that's like the shtick we have. But I'm like, what I was trying to read, I read like the first 200 pages, and before the episode started, and I'm like, we're like 600 pages in. We're we're like starting 600 pages in, and so, and like I said, it was a very hard read. The first until they get to back, it's just not. It's just a hard read. Um, so I cannot figure out though. Like, I knew they had to get them to Ticonderoga. I do not believe. No, well, Jamie didn't want to go to Ticonderoga, but like, why? Of all the forts from North Carolina, because Ticonderoga, if you don't know, I knew it was in New York somewhere, And then I was like, I think it's upstate New York. It's on the border of New York and Vermont. I wrote it down. I looked it up. It's 455 miles away. You couldn't find a fort closer that needed men. I have a really hard time believing that. I just have a hard time believing that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong and I missed that part in the book because I couldn't find it.
Or maybe
Um,
they routinely shipped people from, the southern
yeah.
states to Ticonderoga for the war.
My reference point is The Patriot with Mel Gibson. So I'm like, I have a hard time believing that. I
The
think it was
Civil War documentary of the Patriot.
what's that?
The
The
Civil War
Revolutionary War.
documentary starring Mel Gibson. Yes.
The Revolutionary War. So
Yes.
although, and this is totally something a sidebar, I've often wondered if the Revolutionary War should be considered a civil war because technically it was English citizens against English citizens.
Oh, we could get into a whole discussion about this too.
Oh
Let's
yeah. So
let's stay
anyway,
on the Outlander topic.
back on track. So I think it makes more sense that they kind of ended up in New Haven and then like got sucked into the war from New Haven with the intention of going to New Haven to go to Scotland. But anyway, I think that's what happened in the book. If you're reading along with the book, viewers, or you remember, please comment because I just can't. It seems very wrong to me. Okay, next picture. My favorite picture of the whole episode. The best
Absolutely.
picture
And
ever.
this should be all of your favorite pictures too. If
Yeah.
it's not, you're wrong.
This is the best. This is the best expression. I've never. Okay, so the phrase "gobsmacked" is used in Outlander, and I think that this is the picture. If you looked up "gobsmacked" in the dictionary, this picture should be next to it because I just love Katrina Bell's face in this. Um,
It is fantastic.
yeah.
I'm not even going to put on the pictures of us right now. We're just going to sit on this picture for
For the
and
next.
enjoy how awesome this picture is.
So I feel like, and this is something else in the book that I tried to find and I couldn't figure out. So once again, um, if someone's reading and they remember, please tell me because I cannot figure out how the date was wrong because I could have sworn that at the end of book 6, which I couldn't find, maybe I'll look for it later. They explained that the reason that the date was wrong was because they couldn't find it was like really stupid. They couldn't find the D to write December. The fire was in December and the newspaper said it was January, which is why they weren't prepared for it. It was almost a year later. Um and they don't explain that in when Tom is explaining and it I'll get into later why it affects Bree and Roger. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was Tom's conversation with Claire at the Red Falcon, which is apparently the hotel that they always stay at when they're like regular hotel.
There can't be too many hotels there.
True. I kind of wondered if Tom, when he was talking about I have loved 2 women in my life, I kind of wondered if we saw Tom the way Tom was before Culloden, because we look at Tom and he's like this. Um,
He's a very rigid character.
yes, and I think when we see even in real life people, but especially on a TV show, we think someone's always like that, you know. But Culloden changed so many people. A real life event changed real life people. So, Tom might have been. I mean, Tom said he was in love with this woman, Mona, that he said was a witch. And we talked about before how in the book he caught her like in a pentagram of blood with a strangled dove, which they didn't mention in the TV series. So it's a little more than just him thinking she's different, Um, and if he was really in love with this woman and he went to jail he went to fight for something he believed in, and then he was in prison, and then his wife has a child with his brother and then kills him. I mean, that could, maybe that's why he is the way he is. And I just wonder if, you know, what do you think, right? I was thinking about this as I watched that. Do you think that's possible that like that was Tom, like that softness we see in Tom might have been the way Tom was years ago?
The change in Tom's personality over the last four episodes, and even it started obviously in the last two episodes of season six.
Yeah.
Or was the very last episode of season six. I forget what the last episode covered entirely.
It
Whenever
was the last episode when they came to take Claire for
they took
trial, and
Claire
like
in the last episode, right? Okay, so yeah, so we began to see it then, and it was like, huh, what is Tom doing, being nice? And he's like, that's uncharacteristic of him. I mean, he had always shown kind of like flashes of vulnerability with Claire,
mm-hmm.
with his interactions with her, um, only to be quickly stripped away whenever she asks for samples of his
Fecal samples.
fecal samples.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but so they were short lived. But now we're really just getting like heavy doses of it, and yeah, I think we are beginning to see what Tom looks like when he actually has more than you know it's just religion to care about. I mean, really, that's all we got from him before was like, I am a religious man. Period.
Mm-hmm.
That is my character. There is no depth to it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And now that we see that he's capable of loving, it
Mm-hmm.
really it changes his character considerably.
And I think is it Mark Lewis? I think his name is Mark Lewis. The actor who portrayed him did such an excellent job. Him and the whole Christine. Alan not so much, but I don't think it's. I've always said I don't think it's the actor's fault. I just think he's a character that's very very unlikable. But Tom and Melva were just such the actors that portrayed them just did such a good job. And I'm sorry to see him go. I'm sorry to see him go, but I am surprised that Jamie said Tom would risk his life again for Claire. I'm like, that's an odd thing to say. Like there would be a future
Little
incidents that would
foreshadow,
come up. Hmm?
little foreshadowing, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know. I really don't. I'm not just saying that to not do spoilers. I don't know. I can't remember if they said that in the book, but I will tell you that Claire is like she's upset that Tom kissed her, so she goes to see Jamie, and like in the TV show, she's kind of like back to like her Claire self, and she and Jamie are What did you say? You were like, well, it's been 4 episodes since we had a sex scene, so here we go. um,
I do forget what I said. Yeah.
yeah, but so in the book, like Jamie goes to kiss her, and she like slaps him because he's like, oh, you didn't want Tom to kiss you without permission. You're like still on. And like I understand like Claire's still dealing with the trauma of season 5, which I'm gonna go on a little bit of a tangent, but I'll make it really quick. So it's not a tangent, it's just an explanation of through the book, Jamie like never gets over what Blackjack did to him. Like they touch upon it in season 2 where he's like having the nightmares and stuff. But it's almost like he's over it by the time Blackjack is dead. But in the book, he never gets over it. Like he still has nightmares. And Claire is not. She doesn't have nightmares every day, but she like she has like flashbacks, and it almost seems like, and maybe in the future they'll touch upon it, But it almost seems like they did it and they're like, oh, like I was doing the ether and I was seeing Lionel Brown, and but now that I told Jamie and that's over, like I'm over my flashback, or So I don't know. It's just but what bothers me is um sorry, in the book she slaps Jamie and then they have a conversation similar to the one they have in the series, and he says you were jealous of Leary. In the book, she slaps him again. And it has always bothered me that Claire feels that she can just slap Jamie, because way back in season 1, she's like, if you do this to me again, I will take this knife and stab it through your heart. But yet she slaps him all the time. That like that really annoys me.
As a
Okay.
guy, I have no comment. I abstain.
Anywho, so I'm over that. Um, so I think that's all I have to say about that. Okay. Next picture.
Yep. So this is going to be our last one for the for this episode.
Yeah, there's Roger. It was supposed to be Bree and Roger, but whatever. I just want to get this done. So, I kind of feel like, okay, here's my question. So in the book, they don't move into Lollybrock until Mandy is, I think, almost 3. So the scene of last episode when they get the letter, they actually don't get it until they've already moved into Lollybrock and they're like remodeling it. The kids are older. Um, so I'm like, okay, so you've been living in, like, he says it's a caravan. In America we call it a trailer. Um, so you haven't read any of your parents' letters for 2 years. I find that hard to believe. What do you think, Rye? TV viewer.
Uh, did they not read any letters? I mean, I think that's.
I mean, they haven't. The only thing they referred to was the gold and the Spaniard. So I don't think so. They haven't referenced any other letters.
I mean, I just have to believe that they haven't referenced any letters because it's just been kind of like mundane letters. It looked like, I mean, there was looked like there's a couple hundred letters in that chest. So, um,
Um. Oh, go ahead.
no, so if there was like some like, hey, just this some we just took some average. This is just like an average day, average month. Um, Nothing of note happened, but we just wanted to write to say hi. 200 years in the future. Um,
How
that
did they know to put that box? And the only thing I can think of is that Jamie in his dreamscaping projections was like, oh, well, we'll know they'll be with Fiona, and they recognize the house that the Reverend used to live in. So we'll mail it there in 200 years.
I mean, I assume Jamie and Claire had a conversation like, hey, who can we leave this to that would be sure to get it to Bree and Roger? And Fiona is, I think, a pretty good candidate.
And
And
she knows about it. She knows, she obviously knows about the time traveling stuff.
well, even if not, if she, if a trunk appears on Fiona's doorstep that has, what was the kid, their kid's full name?
Um, Jeremiah, Alexander, Ian, Fraser, Mackenzie, I
Yeah.
believe.
So if that drops on her doorstep, she's gonna know where that needs to go.
Yeah.
And then you just tell the bank, I guess, hey, hold on to this for 200 years. And uh, Claire knows where she lives, so Claire could, leave those instructions and say, deliver to this address or to this person after 200 years.
I'm trying to remember in the book if they found like a key and it was a safety deposit box in a bank. Oh, I'm trying to remember. I'll have to go back. But anyway,
I'm,
so
I'm actually I'm actually a little bit annoyed that the way Roger opened the chest couldn't
yeah.
have opened the chest that way. The mechanism doesn't work like that. Uh, so that just triggered me a little bit, but I'm all right now.
So and the other thing was so so they've been living, so like the construction guy or whatever, the contractor says, oh, you've been living in a caravan for 2 years. So Jemmy is supposed to be like 8 or 9, I guess. And Jemmy and and Mandy's like what, 3-ish?
Okay.
When did Bree finish school? Because she goes to that job interview and she's like, I interned here, I went to MIT. When you came back? Because I don't think she finished school when she left.
Yeah, she
Or
didn't. She was at MIT, right? And she dropped out. Am I?
yes. So when did she finish school?
She didn't. She said she attended MIT. She didn't say she graduated.
Okay, thank you. Because that's
I
what I was
yeah,
like,
I
when
did
did
hear.
it happen? Um,
And I was wondering if they were gonna like, the interviewer was gonna ding her for that and be like, "Oh, well, so you don't have a college graduate? You're just a, whatever woman." And
mhm.
they didn't go that route because she just said, she didn't say she graduated.
So, and the other thing is like when Bree like comes back and gets the job, and like Roger's like, "Oh, that's great." In the book, he's much happier, but he is having like this kind of identity crisis because he feels like he should be the provider, And I'm kind of like, well, Bree, are you expecting something different? Like he was like this before you went back in time, and then he spent many years where he was the man, and he even said when you were back there, like when he was helping Amy McCallum, that Bree was like, you build stuff, and I don't know where I fit, and then like you're surprised that he doesn't really want you to be the breadwinner. I don't know.
I mean,
She's
I agree that, and it's definitely part of their, it's part of the script that they want to flip it on us
yeah.
and show the inverse happening. Show like now Roger is in a position of um, having to be humble about all this, and he's having a hard
Mhm.
time.
I think that Bree and well, I shouldn't say Bree and Roger. I should say Sophie's um Skeldon and Richard Rankin have better chemistry this year. I still don't think that it's like great. But I think it's better. I still don't see them as like a couple. I'm sorry. I think I said it before. I do not see why Roger would go through the stones for their relationship. I just don't. Anyway,
You
so
don't understand true love, honey. Is that what it is? Really?
I think it's because I feel like it's supposed to be like Jamie and Claire, 2.0, and they're just not. Is what it is. But who is? Who
Exactly.
is?
Exactly. You can't hold them up to Jamie and Claire.
Yeah. Um one thing I had to mention was real quick. We don't have a picture of this. In the title card, Bree, I think it's Bree's hand uncovers a desk. Remember that. Book readers will know to remember that. And okay, so you can take the picture off because I'm going to talk about something I skipped before. Um, I'm going to talk about the hunters just real quick. I think it's pretty obvious that they're going to be important characters in this, but which kind of I was right about I was 95% right about the rosary. I said that Ian was gonna end up giving it to William. I really thought it was the rosary that Jenny gave to Jamie, and they might say in the future that it is, but I took a close look because this is what I do. I took a close look at episode, season 2. It was in the second half of the season. I can't remember which episode, but Jenny gives Jamie the rosary. I took a good look at it, and it's not exactly the same rosary. The beads are a little bit different, but they might try to say it's the same, but it's not the same prop. I'm 90% sure it's not the same prop.
I
But
don't
anyway,
do. I agree with you. Like
yeah.
if they might be going for, hey, this is the same rosary, but I think the prop is different. I could be wrong.
maybe
Tell me it's wrong, but
maybe it's in Matt Roberts' office lost somewhere.
next
And
to
he
the
like
Stephen Bonnet's.
props. Yes, next to Stephen Bonnet's balls. Um, that would be quite sacrilegious. um, so what kind of bothered me was Betty trying like immediately going to cut off William's arm. I guess they tried to do that for two reasons. That doesn't happen in the book for two reasons. One was to kind of flash back to Jamie almost getting his leg amputated, and like Ian's reaction, um, because of the same reason. Like his father had a leg amputated, Jamie almost had his leg amputated. Um, Fergus lost a hand, so and there was a reason that Ian had to give him a rosary, the rosary. But so this might be a little bit of a spoiler. I know that it's all spoilers, but just um Denny's like presented. He wasn't in this episode, but I think it's going to be in the future. He's presented as like a physician that studied in England to like the Queen's doctor or something, and he's very more forward thinking than the regular. He won't like bleed a person. He won't give them leech. Well, I shouldn't say he won't give them leeches, because leeches actually can help sometimes, but he's not like I don't feel like he's the kind of doctor that would have like looked at a wound and said we got to cut it out without first saying like, oh, let's see if this abscess has pus in it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just I like thank God it came out before I like started sawing, and I'm like thinking, wait, does this happen in the book? I don't think it happens in the book, and it doesn't. So, and the other thing when I was watching, I said to Ryan, I was like, Ryan, what color is William's beard? And you said,
And I said, "What beard?"
so again, in the book, William's supposed to have a red beard, which is supposed to be another indication, Jamie's blood. Um,
Do you think in the TV, like, because now we're dealing with like a visual medium, that just would have been a little bit too on the chin? No pun intended.
no, I think maybe they couldn't, like, the actor probably does not really have a red beard in real life, and putting it on him would look ridiculous. Like the alligator, maybe. um, and I think maybe they kept that, because I was like, well, why'd you keep it in if you can't even really tell that you know. But then I thought, maybe it was to show the intimacy that is growing between William and Rachel, juxtaposed to the closeness between, or no, I'm sorry, William and Rachel, and then juxtapose the closeness between Rachel and Ian, which we see.
Yeah, that
Or
was
maybe
that was interesting.
because it's a very intimate thing, I think, to let someone shave you. They could just,
It is.
especially men.
It is. It is. You gotta trust your barber, man. You gotta.
Yeah, Sweeney Todd, man. Sweeney Todd.
Before I grew this, I had many straight razor shave. You gotta trust your guy. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, whenever Ian first showed up at the Hunters, um, like, and he looked at her, I said, "What was that look for? Like, was that a look?" Because it was like very obviously like a look, and I didn't understand it. It was
Mhm.
almost like he recognized her. Like, I thought you were going to tell me that. Oh yeah, you just completely forgot about that part where they met in the woods one day or something. But no, it was just a preemptive look. I'm not sure how else to say it. A look of things to come.
Perhaps. So anyway,
I don't know what I'm
the,
talking about. That's not a spoiler. I'm just guessing here. I don't know what I'm talking about.
the last thing I'm gonna say is, I'm just gonna point out that William did react to like Richardson. Did Richardson set him up? He said to meet these people at Dismal Town, and they all end up to be rebels or patriots or whatever you want to call them. So he would have been.
Hmm.
And considering that Richardson's last thing Richardson said was "See that you don't die," so there's that.
Huh.
Do you want to talk about the preview at all?
I don't know. No,
Or what you think will happen in the next episode?
let's save the preview. Let's talk about that whenever
Oh
the
my
next.
goodness, I've been talking for like an hour.
Yeah, 50 minutes.
That's a
Yeah,
lot to cover.
50 minutes.
All right, so I'm gonna wrap it up. The only thing I'm gonna say about the preview, this is, it's not. I'm not gonna say it's a spoiler. I'm just gonna say that if you watch the preview and you saw Claire working on a black guy, I think I want to say he had a leg wound. Pay attention to that character. That's all I'm gonna say.
I will. I am looking forward to seeing the interaction between Claire, who is in her own right a a veteran war doctor. I mean, you know, the literally, I think the first scene in the entire series is her in the battlefield attending people. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that is her work. That's her thing.
Yeah.
Um, and she might even have more experience than this, you know, the other doctor in the uniform that we see. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I am very much looking forward to seeing how that interaction plays out.
I'm okay. I'm wondering if there will be a battle next episode. I don't think they're gonna do 2 episodes in a row. That's gonna just be leading up to something. I think something's gonna happen in the next episode.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we've already had our down episode here. We'll probably
yeah,
start with, you know, from maybe half of the next episode, still setting up, you know, the battle at Ticonderoga, or things like that. And then,
I'm gonna make a prediction.
okay,
I think next. I'm thinking about it. I'm not gonna say why I think this or what I think is gonna happen, but I think next episode is gonna end on a cliffhanger, and then there's gonna be a
don't,
week off. Mm-hmm.
don't they all end on a cliffhanger, though?
Would you consider this one a cliffhanger? I don't think.
Mm, I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Um, but then you
No, no, I mean a real cliffhanger. Like you're gonna be like,
like what they originally planned for the end of season 6,
yes,
like kaboom
yes, like that kind of
and
cliffhanger.
drop.
Like, and then it's gonna be like, oh, we're taking the next week off, and people are gonna be pissed. People have not read the books,
Okay.
but yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I think that's all we gotta do. We got in what 50 minutes there.
52. We're good. We're good.
Great.
People are
All
used to
right,
it. This is 50 minutes in. This is like light for everyone, right?
everyone. All right, everyone. So thanks for watching, and we will see you. Oh, one more thing I was going to say. We'll see you next week after the next episode. But if there is a break, which I think there might be, I would really like to do an episode where I just all predictions and spoilers about how I think they're going to end season 7A and season 7B. So, all right. So,
Look forward to it.
everyone, have a good one. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Have a good one, everyone.